The underestimation. The Great Hall of the Galactic Consortium pulsed with the ambient energy of over 200 species representatives. Holographic displays shimmered across the vast chamber, depicting star systems, trade routes, and the latest discoveries from the farthest reaches of known space. At the center of attention was a small blue-green world projected in stunning detail, Earth. This primitive world poses no strategic value or threat, declared High Administrator Vexlar, his translucent tentacles rippling with dismissive confidence. The Thraxian leader's multifaceted eyes reflected the holographic image as he addressed the assembly. Their technological advancement has been monitored for centuries, and they remain confined to their solar system, squabbling among themselves like larvae fighting over scraps. The gathered representatives murmured in agreement. Earth had long been classified as a Level 2 civilization, capable of limited space travel, but lacking faster-than-light technology. Such worlds were typically left to develop in isolation until they either achieved FTL capability or destroyed themselves trying. Among the delegates, one figure sat unusually still. Science Director Nera Keth of the Arcturian Collective leaned forward, her crystalline exoskeleton catching the light as she studied the projection with keen interest. Unlike her peers, she had spent the last 15 Earth years analyzing human development patterns, and her findings troubled her deeply. "I request permission to address the consortium," she announced, her translator module converting her crystalline resonances into the standard galactic language. High Administrator Vexlar's feeding tendrils twitched with annoyance. "The Science Directorate has already submitted its assessment. What could you possibly add, Nera Keth?" "Evidence that contradicts our understanding of human potential," she replied firmly, rising from her seat. Without waiting for permission, she interfaced with the central projector, replacing the image of Earth with a complex data array. The standard development curve for technological species follows predictable patterns, she began, highlighting a series of equations. From the discovery of atomic energy to quantum computing, we can typically predict advancement timelines within a margin of 3%. The displayed chart showed dozens of species development curves, all following similar trajectories with minor variations. Humans, however, defy these patterns. A new line appeared on the chart, zigzagging unpredictably. In the span of a single century, they progressed from primitive flight to landing on their moon. In the next 50 years, they developed computational systems, global communication networks, and rudimentary AI that took other species 3 times as long to achieve. "Sporadic advancement is not unprecedented," countered Ambassador Jolak of the Regelian Empire, his feathered crest rising with skepticism. The Centauri experienced similar growth spurts before their civilization collapsed under its own ambition. Nera Keth's crystalline form shimmered with the equivalent of a frustrated sigh. "What distinguishes humans is not merely their rate of advancement, but their capacity for adaptive thinking. While most species excel in specialized development, humans demonstrate remarkable cognitive flexibility." She displayed footage from Earth's recent history, humans responding to catastrophes, developing solutions to complex problems with limited resources, and their peculiar capacity to thrive under pressure rather than succumb to it. Their neural architecture allows for connections between disparate knowledge domains that most species process in isolation. This gives them an advantage in innovation that our predictive models consistently underestimate. High Administrator Vexlar waved a dismissive tentacle. "Even if your assessment has merit, they remain confined by the laws of physics. Their nearest neighbor is 4 light-years away, and they have shown no signs of developing FTL travel." "That is what concerns me most," Nera Keth replied, her voice modulator dropping to a more somber tone. She accessed a secure data channel, displaying classified intelligence gathered by deep-cover observation drones. These images were captured 3 lunar cycles ago from their research facility in a region called Nevada. The holographic display showed a massive underground complex where humans in protective suits worked around a device that caused several delegates to rise in alarm. "Impossible," whispered Ambassador Jolak. That configuration resembles a primitive quantum folding apparatus. Precisely, confirmed Naraketh. They are approaching FTL capability through a methodology none of our civilizations pursued, bypassing conventional warp theory entirely in favor of dimensional folding. The chamber erupted in concerned chatter. Quantum folding was theoretically possible, but had been abandoned by most advanced civilizations due to its unpredictability and danger. That humans would stumble upon this approach and apparently make progress was deeply unsettling. How much time before operational capability? Demanded Vexlar, suddenly taking the matter seriously. Based on their current rate of progress, less than 5 Earth years, Naraketh responded. But that estimate may be conservative given their pattern of breakthrough thinking. Far from the prying eyes of alien observers, Dr. Elena Rice stood before a whiteboard filled with equations at the heart of Project Prometheus. The underground facility hummed with activity as scientists and engineers worked around the clock on what would be humanity's greatest technological achievement. The simulation results are promising, she told her colleague, Dr. James Chen, as they reviewed the latest test data. The quantum field stabilized for nearly 7 seconds before collapsing. Chen nodded, adjusting his glasses. Better than last week's 4 seconds. If we can maintain stability for 15, we might actually achieve microfolding. What neither of them knew, what no human knew, was that their work was being monitored by entities from beyond their solar system, and that their progress was causing considerable alarm among the galaxy's established powers. The quantum folding technology alone is concerning, continued Naraketh in the consortium chamber. But there is more. She displayed additional footage showing military installations where experimental aircraft performed maneuvers that defied conventional aerodynamics. They have also made significant advances in materials science, energy storage, and artificial intelligence. Their cybernetic integration experiments suggest they may achieve machine consciousness symbiosis within a decade. The implications were clear. If humans continued on their current trajectory, they would emerge onto the galactic stage, not as a typical fledgling species, but as a potentially disruptive force with unpredictable technology and unconventional thinking. What do you propose? Asked the representative from the Cygnus technocracy, their mechanical body shifting nervously. Before Naraketh could respond, High Administrator Vexlar interjected. The protocol for potentially destabilizing emergent civilizations is clear. We must implement containment measures. Containment, echoed Naraketh in disbelief. You mean suppression. Interference in developing worlds is forbidden by our own laws. Laws designed to protect species developing along normal trajectories. Countered Vexlar. Humans represent an anomaly, a potential threat to galactic stability. The preservation doctrine gives us authority to act when necessary. A vote was called. Despite Naraketh's impassioned arguments, the consortium overwhelmingly approved intervention measures. Earth would be contained, its technological progress halted and carefully managed to ensure it developed along more predictable lines. Naraketh watched in dismay as the intervention fleet was commissioned. 30 warships from the combined forces of the consortium's military powers would deploy to Earth's solar system. Their mission? To establish orbital dominance, neutralize key technological centers, and implement control protocols that would subtly redirect human development away from dangerous avenues. What the consortium failed to appreciate, despite Naraketh's warnings, was that humans had already detected signs of extraterrestrial observation. Project Prometheus was only one component of a broader initiative that included defensive preparations. General Maria Santos reviewed the satellite data with a grim expression. The anomalous objects approaching Earth had first been dismissed as asteroid fragments, but their coordinated movements and sudden acceleration proved otherwise. How long until they reach our orbit? She asked the team of analysts. 72 hours at current velocity, replied Colonel Takashi. But they could arrive sooner if they continue to accelerate. Santos nodded, reaching for a secure phone. Inform the Security Council. Initiate Protocol Omega. Across the globe, hidden facilities began activating defense systems that had been developed in secret for decades. The world's governments, despite their political differences, had united behind a single contingency plan for extraterrestrial contact, especially if that contact proved hostile. As the consortium fleet approached Earth, confident in their technological superiority and dismissive of human capabilities, they remained unaware that they were flying into a carefully prepared defense grid. Humanity, long suspicious that they were not alone in the universe, had channeled their unique brand of paranoia and creativity into preparing for this very moment. The consortium had made a critical error in their assessment. They had based their intervention strategy on their understanding of what humans were capable of yesterday, not what they might achieve tomorrow. And tomorrow had already arrived. The reckoning. Fleet Commander Drazzer of the Orion hierarchy surveyed the blue planet from the command deck of his flagship. Earth looked peaceful, vulnerable, a world unaware of the forces aligning against it. As the senior military leader of the intervention force, he had studied the consortium's intelligence reports thoroughly and developed a straightforward strategy. Establish orbital dominance, neutralize key military and research installations with precision strikes, and force a rapid capitulation. All vessels in formation, reported his second-in-command. Stealth fields operating at maximum efficiency. Their primitive detection systems show no evidence of our presence. Drazzer's mandibles clicked with satisfaction. Proceed with Phase 1. Deploy suppression satellites to disable their global communications network. The order transmitted across the fleet, and 20 small craft detached from the larger vessels, descending toward strategic positions in Earth's orbit. Their mission was to release electromagnetic pulse devices that would cripple Earth's electronic infrastructure, rendering their most advanced systems useless. Satellite deployment at 60%. The tactical officer announced. No defensive response detected. Drazzer allowed himself a moment of satisfaction. The operation was proceeding exactly as planned. Humans would awaken to a new reality, one in which their technological progress would be carefully managed for the greater galactic good. His satisfaction was short-lived. Energy spike detected, shouted the sensor operator, their voice rising in alarm. Multiple sources, originating from Earth's polar regions. Before Drazzer could process this information, brilliant beams of concentrated energy lanced upward from Earth's surface. 3 of the deployment vessels were struck directly, vaporizing instantly. The others scattered, abandoning their mission as they fled the unexpected assault. Impossible, Drazzer whispered. Their weapons technology was assessed at Level 2, incapable of orbital strikes. The command deck erupted in frantic activity as more energy signatures appeared across Earth's surface. What had seemed like an unsuspecting planet suddenly revealed a coordinated defense network that had clearly been prepared well in advance. On Earth, the Global Defense Initiative's command center beneath Mount Cheyenne hummed with focused intensity. General Santos watched the holographic display as the orbital defense grid engaged the alien fleet. Aurora stations performing at 97% efficiency, reported Colonel Takashi. 11 enemy vessels neutralized. The remainder are regrouping at higher orbit. The Aurora platforms, satellite-based directed energy weapons disguised as climate research stations, had been humanity's best-kept secret. Developed using principles discovered during Project Prometheus, they represented a technological leap that even Naraketh had failed to detect in her assessments. Deploy the Aegis countermeasures, Santos ordered, and bring the quantum disruptors online. Across 6 continents, hidden facilities powered up devices that generated targeted quantum field disruptions, technology specifically designed to interfere with the advanced propulsion and weapons systems of potential extraterrestrial threats. It was theoretical, experimental, and completely untested against actual alien technology. It was also devastatingly effective. In orbit, Commander Drazzer watched in horror as his vessels began experiencing catastrophic system failures. Propulsion, weapons, even life support, all fluctuating wildly as invisible waves of quantum disruption washed over the fleet. "We've lost control of the primary drive on 6 vessels," reported the engineering officer, panic evident in their voice. "Containment fields failing on decks 3 through 7. Dreiser slammed his armored fist against the command console. How? How could they have prepared defenses against technology they shouldn't even understand? The answer came not from his crew, but from a sudden transmission breaking through their communication systems. A human face appeared on the main view screen, General Santos, though Dreiser didn't know her name. "Attention, alien vessels," she announced, her voice calm but resolute. "Your unprovoked aggression against Earth has been met with our defensive capabilities. We have targeted your weapons and propulsion systems, but have intentionally spared your life support. We have no desire for bloodshed, but we will protect our world." Dreiser stared at the human in disbelief. Not only had they detected the fleet through supposedly impenetrable stealth fields, but they had developed countermeasures against technology they should have no knowledge of. "This is Commander Dreiser of the Galactic Consortium Intervention Force," he responded, struggling to maintain composure. "Your world has been designated for technological containment due to your species' development of potentially destabilizing technologies. Stand down your defenses and prepare for integration into galactic oversight." Santos' expression remained unchanged. "Commander, we have no interest in submitting to external control. However, we are prepared to establish diplomatic relations as equals. The choice is yours. Retreat and return with ambassadors, or continue this failed military action." To emphasize her point, a small object materialized directly in the command deck of Dreiser's vessel, bypassing all security measures and defensive shields. It was a simple metallic sphere that projected a holographic display of the entire consortium fleet, with detailed schematics of each vessel's weaknesses highlighted in red. "That," Santos continued, "is a demonstration of our quantum folding technology, what you attempted to prevent us from developing. We can deploy similar devices with explosive payloads throughout your fleet if necessary." The implication was clear. Humans had not only developed the technology the consortium feared, but had already weaponized it in ways no one had anticipated. In the consortium's Great Hall, emergency protocols had been activated as news of the intervention fleet's failure reached the assembled representatives. The holographic displays showed the crippled vessels and the unexpected resistance they had encountered. "How could our intelligence be so flawed?" demanded Ambassador Jolak, his feathers flattened in distress. Naraketh, who had been confined to observer status after opposing the intervention, stepped forward. "I warned you the humans defy conventional assessment. Their capacity for innovation under pressure exceeds anything in our historical database." High Administrator Vexlar's tentacles writhed with agitation. "Recommendations. The fleet is compromised, and our containment strategy has failed completely." "Open diplomatic channels," Naraketh stated firmly. "Immediately. If we continue aggressive actions, we risk not only further military losses, but potentially provoking the species that has demonstrated both the capability and willingness to defend itself with unexpected effectiveness." Back in Earth orbit, Commander Dreiser faced the most difficult decision of his military career. His fleet was crippled, his mission in shambles, and he was confronted with evidence that everything they had believed about human technological capacity was wrong. "Commander," his tactical officer urged, "we must retreat. Half our vessels are unable to maintain stable orbit, and their defense grid is still active. If they choose to press their advantage..." Dreiser knew the officer was right. The intervention had failed spectacularly, and continuing would only result in further losses. With a heavy sense of defeat, he gave the order to withdraw. As the damaged consortium fleet limped away from Earth's orbit, humanity experienced its first victory against an extraterrestrial power, a victory that would forever change their place in the galactic community. 6 months later, a very different scene played out in the United Nations headquarters in New York. Representatives from Earth's nations gathered alongside a delegation from the Galactic Consortium. The terms of first contact were being negotiated not from a position of submission, but as equals. Naraketh, now appointed as the consortium's chief diplomatic envoy to Earth, addressed the assembly. The events of our first encounter were regrettable, but they have led to an unprecedented opportunity. Humanity has demonstrated qualities that the consortium now recognizes as valuable: innovation, adaptability, and determination. General Santos, representing Earth's unified defense forces, nodded in acknowledgement. And we have learned that we are not alone in this vast universe. While we are prepared to defend ourselves, we prefer to join the galactic community as collaborative partners rather than adversaries. The treaty being formalized would grant humanity recognition as a Level 4 civilization, an extraordinary designation that acknowledged their unexpected technological achievements and unique potential. Earth would retain its autonomy while gaining access to certain galactic knowledge bases and trade networks. In private conversations throughout the consortium, a new perspective on humanity was taking shape. They were not merely another emerging species to be managed and controlled. They represented something different, a civilization that had developed along an unpredictable path and emerged stronger for it. The consortium had ignored the warnings about humans and had paid the price for their arrogance. Now, they faced the prospect of integrating a species whose greatest strength lay in their very unpredictability, a quality that both frightened and fascinated the established powers. As Nara Keth observed the humans during the treaty negotiations, she realized that the galaxy was entering a new era. The old order of predictable development and careful management was giving way to something more dynamic, more uncertain, but potentially more vibrant. Humans, with their strange combination of caution and boldness, their capacity to unite despite their differences when facing external threats, and their relentless drive to overcome limitations, would change the consortium forever. And perhaps, she thought, that was exactly what the galaxy needed.